ultimately, this industry is just going to be filled with clutter and average performers. Because everyone is good or is looking good. They've got followers, everyone, but they don't have heart, they don't have skill. And then now the performance just drops, gets weak. And that's why you told us sometimes someone is presenting a show, sporegile mara sikumamela. Ukuthi usho yonke into that is on the script or the content, but we've disengaged.
Nkululeko on Cultr.
Nkululeko on Cultr. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is Nkululeko, also known as Nkululeko, my brother from Itiski TV. Behind the scenes is Hlaudi, also known as Essence. Of course, our producer as well is not here today. He's never here, but he helps us get these interviews. Today we have Motlatsi Mafatshe. Motlatsi, thank you very much for joining us. How are you doing?
I'm great. It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Very interesting. One thing I thought I was going to ask you first was, what do people remember you as whenever they see you in the streets? What prominent role that you played that they call you by?
Sechaba takes the cup for now.
Yeah.
Molefe is also becoming a very popular character. And so a lot of people, I think because the show's watched by like millions and millions of people.
Yeah.
So the reach is just getting much more bigger than I expected. But Sechaba has taken the cup. Though when you go to places and you meet people, then they get to sit down with you. Then they go, actually, you know, man, that character you played on When We Were Black.
Oh, yeah.
I know for a fact, wherever I go, anywhere, someone's going to be like on some, Casper. Or they're like Fistos.
Yeah.
But I think all the roles that I've played have kind of made a huge impact in my career and in people's lives and in terms of entertainment.
Yeah, so Fistos was your on-screen friend, right?
Yeah,
I remember. Yeah, you guys were actually good in that. You looked like stoners, actually. The way that you guys interacted with each other, it's like buddies will smoke weed together.
Yeah.
Even though, of course, it was, I'm sure When We Were Black, I remember from a fuzzy memory now that there was something about Afrikaans being taught in school.
It was about apartheid, how black people were living, Afrikaans being taught, being made the medium language of the country, and students going, they're tired of it. But I mean, it's about relationships. Yes, we were friends. Because some part of the story was that during apartheid, black people were still living. Not everyone was a comrade.
Sure.
So other people were still falling. People were still falling in love. People were still creating friendships. So it was a story also about telling that coming of age with people who are not necessarily freedom fighters, but young people who are just seeing everything unfold.
I really enjoy that. I remember watching that with my cousins, and sometimes I was confused as what the fuck was happening. But what made me gravitate?
Why were you confused?
Because I was younger. I think I was maybe 15 or 16, and I wasn't sure. The way that things used to happen 10, 15 years ago was that you would watch an episode once a week, and if you miss it, you may not really be able to follow what the story is about.
Right.
So I do remember a teacher hitting you guys because you were refusing to speak Afrikaans, or she found a way to still teach in isiZulu or English, even though she was being forced to teach you guys in Afrikaans, for example. So I have a patched up remembering of that story, but I do remember the two of you on screen, whether it was about you urging the other to go and chat to a girl.
That's right.
I really enjoyed the chemistry that you guys had there on the story.
Look, the preparation for the thing, I've never experienced anything like that in my entire career. And it was one of the first productions I ever did. I mean, what we've lost in our industry is that there's not enough pre-prod. So pre-prod is planning. There's not enough research, and people are not given enough time to produce or master their discipline. So you'll find an actor who go and audition on Friday, Monday they start shooting. Even the following day you start shooting, which is pathetic. I mean, and then you expect a complete amazing results, and then we become so harsh on our actors. Guti, they're not doing so well, or this one is better than that one, only because people are not given enough time. And filmmaking and art is about spending time and understanding exactly what you want to do, but it's about researching. So when we were black, we researched for quite a long time. to find one, young people today are living different lives compared to young people in the 70s.
Yeah.
Right? So if you were to find young people who are living now and just place them in that film, you'd be the older generation would be on some besingaphili kanje.
Yeah, they would not be
so
able
you'd
to
have
interpret it.
discrepancies. It won't be a true reflection
Sure.
of the characters and the time. So film requires that. Television requires that. When We're Black was so properly done. I remember we even went to Mama Winnie Mandela's house in Orlando. Asihlalise phansi laphayana and just asirhabulisa about what was going on with young people during that time. And then we met other older people basitshela ukuthi besijola kanje. The way that besingathintana izandla. As a result, you'll see the passion and the love two people have without even touching. So it's another level of art and telling stories. For example, the lighting, there was no street lights that time. And so even the way it was shot, the DOP was called, his name is Matthias. He used like candles, okay, to create that feel of being in the 70s without ESCOM.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So everything was literally believable. The streets where we were shooting at were covered with inhlabathi. All right, for quite some time, they just closed the streets off with inhlabathi so that there's no concrete. There was no concrete. Even the houses had to be redesigned here and there. Those who were a bit modern. So preparation is everything. And now we don't really have that. And I think that's what made it so pure and beautiful. And we took time to find our characters. And yeah, man.
Would you say that's, recreation and doing justice to a story? I think it's beautiful what you've just described now. Would you say that that's perhaps in the last 10 years of your career or in the last 15 years of your career, that was the only film that you were in or soapy or movie that you were in that really did justice to interpreting what was written by a writer and even giving homage to a time or a period?
For me, it was one of the best experiences I've ever had in the game in terms of preparation. And the results are obvious. You can see them. You can play it now. That picture is a classic. Carlo Matabane did amazing work. And at the time, I was still at school. So what I used to study at school, I saw it being practiced about pre-prod and understanding characterizations. And so it was amazing to literally being at school and go, oh, the industry actually operates like that. And then thereafter, it wasn't like that. It was just hop, cut and paste. He's available. It's good, that boy. Let's put him in. And then they just get someone who's going to learn on, like you see, majority of our shows. And it's because we're like, no, we need to share the skill. All right? Yeah, it's great. We must. But we don't have experts. Right? Because now we're like, no, 50% has to be students. People who want to come in will never have experts. We don't have shows that are competing with the world.
Yeah.
Because now we only do stuff for ourselves. We don't push art to its highest form. And I mean, there are shows like How to Ruin Christmas was done properly, was done. What helped us with How to Ruin was that during lockdown, COVID, we lived in a bubble. So we all lived together, and as a result, we spent most of our time together. So the chemistry was then created and found there. So it became a family, and when you see it, then it's that, So that's, I think it goes to number 2 for me. How to Ruin. Otherwise, the rest, so wanna pambi.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. You mentioned that, obviously, as I asked who people remember you as mostly, you mentioned Sechaba, and I would imagine that Isidingo was also perhaps a dope environment that did justice to acting, because from what I remember 10 years ago, for the most part, when there were SAFTAs, for example, Isidingo would win maybe 12 in one night and sometimes 9 in one night. What did you learn about being in Isidingo with the actors and the directors and everyone who was around that environment?
Isidingo for me will always be an institution of learning, All right, that space was like, I think majority of industry head of departments come from there, or even people who have taught them are from that space, right? Those guys were incredible. They're geniuses, I tell you. And as a result, that's why the show had the best actors, right? And I'm not saying, yeah, if you are quality, you definitely be on that show. And I think it wasn't training ground for actors per se, because the actors came already ripe and had something to offer. And in terms of technical wise, of storytelling, of how the industry runs and how to behave and how to just be professionals and do what you do and be best at it. Because there's no time to learn. Like when you're doing scenes with Robert Whitehead, he's already prepared. Okay? And when you do scenes with Georgie and Ndata Zeb, Don, I mean, you can't mess around. And their time is money. So we go, hit it, out. So you have to think on your feet. You have to prepare. You understand? So, and everybody did that. And then you learn on the go. So in terms of technical skills, I think it was an institution. Even we pushed the bar there. You know, I think we taught a lot of shows how to even just raise the bar and take it a bit higher. That's why they won so many awards. And then, yeah, man, but I guess all good things sometimes must come to an end.
What I did not understand, obviously I was younger then, I'm older now, I understand technicalities about creating stories and doing stories and the importance of not telling stories in an obvious manner that's just trying to accumulate views. What I did not understand back then was many people were watching Generations. And of course, there were quite a few millions who would tune into SABC3 and watch Isidingo, even though they were not playing at the same time, but the preference was always on the side of Generations. But every single time there were awards, you guys would kick Generations' ass. And I couldn't get it at the time because I didn't know anything about technical acting, technical storytelling, even videography. And why do you think you guys always whooped the asses of other soapies, whether it was Rhythm City, Scandal, Isidingo was always,
Content and quality. The way it's shot was, Isidingo was not shot like a soapy. Not even treated like a soapy. Treated like a daily drama. Two different worlds. The lighting was different. Like, you know, these shows, like, and you see it on TV now. Tollywood, when you look at the guys' heads, it's just, you see this harsh light here bouncing. And we're like, yo, that's so horrible. Well, maybe for us who are into the vibe, right?
Sure.
But then television and filmmaking, and it's an art. So we have to create that picture. We have to work. That's why you get awards for lighting. So it needs to feel like they exist. I mean, I remember Isidingo had this. They used to have a television station on TV where Abo Len Cooper were working.
Oh yes,
there. So
yes.
it kind of felt like it was SABC.
Yeah.
Even if I'd never been to SABC, I felt like, I'm sure at SABC it feels like this, right? So they were doing things live. I mean, I remember I was so impressed, man. I was still a kid when I saw one of the actors. They were moving from one area to another, having huge dialogue, and then they're making coffee. There's tea, yabala, in. I'm like, oh my goodness, how does that person do that? It's incredible. Well, I mean, I ultimately got to do it myself.
Yeah.
Because I'm passionate about that vibe. But they became so real in how they perform, and yet delivering amazing content. So content made Isidingo become a leader in the game, and the way it's shot and the way it's treated. You know, other shows, I guess. I remember when I auditioned in one other show, they're like, okay, listen, you can't do what you do there, here. Here, you must stick to this line. Right? So, but I understood why. And sometimes we have to be fluid, you know, and not everyone can be fluid. Some actors are very, like, rigid, and it works for them. Some are fluid, so you just need an open-minded director and leadership. I think Sis Pumla Hopper was a genius. You know, she had an amazing leadership quality of bringing the best into one space and while equipping those who are young. So I think content, extreme leadership, and wanting to raise the bar all the time made Isidingo pop.
Did you feel at any point that there was competition amongst the actors who were doing the soapies? Because I mean, it's competition for the eyes of the viewers, but amongst yourselves as actors, did you feel as if there was any, superiority? Tina, we are better than you guys.
No, look, I mean, I'd say, if you know, you know, man. If you're on Isidingo, you know that your level of performance is on another level.
Yeah.
And then there's other shows like I will watch just for popcorn or to buy time. It's okay. I mean, there's PSL, there's Mvela, there's Europe. You know what I mean? There's so many things that as an actor you have to gauge yourself with. Good, okay. Masengla, I think I've made it. Masengla, I haven't. But I mean, for me, it felt like the Bafana of actors, or the national team.
Sure.
Of ngoba Bafana kwamanje sisa. Okay, let me prove that. But it's the national team of performers. You know what I'm saying? And I think even those who are not part of it, they knew. When you have your resume says, boy, 10 years on that space, you know that it's quality experience. Galore.
What skill do you need to have in order to be able to do the amazing things that you guys do? I suppose if you have a script or a dialogue that lasts over 3 pages, I'm sure someone who has a problem with memory is going to struggle.
Acting is not about memorizing. School is important.
Sure.
You see, I think we got to a point where we think acting good. Can you just kremela line and just say them? That is absolutely not acting, and not even performance. But when you go to school, you understand where it comes from, what it is, what is characterization, and why do we do it, and how do you expand it, how do you get better at it, and what are the exercises, what are the different types of performing or acting, so I believe if you want to make it in this game and last forever, you have to go to school. Otherwise, you just want to be famous, and so that people can take selfies with you.
Yeah. Can you do a cultural critique of what's happening now? Because I suppose one way of doing it now, we see it even on radio, is accumulate an audience on social media, do YouTube, and then a company is going to call it. It's happened to me when I did something in football, a product in football, where I was just doing YouTube channels, talking to former players who watch matches, and it became big, and then TV calls, yo, can you please do this? Can you please do that? But that's not acting, that's presenting. Can you do a cultural critique about the pathway for actors now? Do you see a lot of influencers getting acting roles because they have 2 million people following them on Instagram? Is that something that you see happening?
It's happening. It's not something that I see happening. It's something that's existing, but it does not have longevity. It's just that it's just gonna drop. It's either in this game, it's either you have it or you don't. And when you've gone to school, chances are you will last because you get more skills about the space itself. But when you're doing it for followers and I'm a brand, your ideas are far much different than a journey of an artist is. But there's still people who are talented and who have followers and could get a shot. Not everyone will make it, but I do think there's a lot of unearthed talent. When you go to schools, when you go to the universities, there's brilliant people. But because people in deciding in certain powers are not necessarily woke, but actually led by umoya, where we see more or is cut. And so I actually believe that a lot of people in influential positions, they don't deserve those spaces because they're not leaders and they don't understand how these different disciplines intertwine. and how do they actually help the industry stay strong or firm. So bahamba ngomoya. Now since with TikTok, okay, let's follow TikTok. Oh yeah. Now YouTube, so they're not even pioneers. They just go with what the rest of the world is doing, and then they say when the new trend comes, then they leave that one and jump onto another one. But there's so many legends who don't have followers, don't have social media, and are still working. And they're not necessarily doing it because they want to be known. They do shows overseas. They travel the world. They do films, and nobody's talking about it because maybe they're not on social media. But you can actually make it big in this space. I mean, a friend of mine sent me a DM, was like, yo, Mo, I'm in Switzerland right now. Boy, here are the themes. Just write something. I'm like, yo, I've been living here. Things are working out.
Sure.
Another friend of mine is in Germany. It's quiet. He makes music with like top producers.
Sure.
He's big that side, right? And nobody knows because I'm a pushy lento language. I need to be on. I need to have like 6 million
followers and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I just think that it's a phase. It's ultimately this industry is just going to be filled with clutter and average performers because everyone is good or is looking good. They've got followers, everyone, but they don't have heart, they don't have skill, and then now the performance just drops, gets weak. And that's why you told us sometimes someone is presenting a show, sporegile mara sikumamela. Ukuthi usho yonke into that is on the script or the content, but we've disengaged because there's something about you that we're like, couldn't roping game. Because I think when you go to school, it's not a cult, but there's an attitude that you get from having put in the work and understand why you are doing it. And because you put in the work, it shapes you inside. So when you deliver certain things, we go, hey, ngatukhuluma mabom. You know, because you know what you're talking about. You know, it's like you did the soccer show. We listen to him because we know that he's been there, he's played it.
Sure, he's played, yeah.
So we believe him.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
But now anyone can be a commentator and tell you, no, he chiefs is nonsense. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Talk to us about the importance of theatre. I've watched theatre. I'm from Cape Town, and I've been amazed by what I've seen with theatre actors, and of course some of them have transitioned now to do television. And I'm like, yo, you guys do 7 shows within 7 days, sometimes 2 shows in 1 day, and they last for 2 hours, some of them, and you are able to deliver with enthusiasm, with energy, and you don't even miss a beat. And I've consumed theatre for all of my young adult life.
Yeah.
And I'm amazed by that skill set. How important is that in terms of honing your skill and transitioning to TV?
Theatre is important, but you don't necessarily have to be a TV actor.
Sure.
You know, you can just do theatre. The only problem is that people, I think, people on TV are celebrated more because a lot people don't attend theatre shows.
Yeah.
And so I think as a people, we are uncultured. Theatre is culture. It roots you. Like there's something it does spiritually and just in your mind.
Yeah.
So performers who come from theatre, some of them also can be good on theatre and not necessarily amazing on screen.
Yeah.
You know, so there's television performance, there's film performance, there's also theatre performance. Some are favored to be able to merge it, you know, but I think it's very important to understand all three, you know. Yeah, man.
And you've been comfortable in all 3?
I've had an opportunity to be very comfortable in all 3.
And that's amazing because every time I watch theatre, I just cannot stop but be amazed by what I see because there's no cuts, there's no action. It's that 1 hour, 30 minutes performance and you have to do it well.
You know what? And that's prep. You know, because you consume people for like an hour, 30 minutes. You own that time, right? And so you actually make them think, feel, experience something in that hour and a half. You own them. You become a god of that time. So you can only imagine the preparation it takes to consume your mind and be one. But I mean, there's also people who are very I got talent and be strong. You know, so I think bakona bapiwe to be able to do it. Bakona bapiwe for television, like presenting. I think is a skill. Not everyone can do it.
Yeah.
Ukuluma also is also a skill. Not everyone can do it. That's why you find a lot of actors are actually very shy. They're very not
Reserved.
timid, but they're very reserved. You know, because for myself, I'll tell you, because I can hide behind the characters. But all the characters, I've prepped them, and I'm showing you this so that you can step away from me. You know, so theater also allows one to just go deeper and show you my dirty linen on the stage, and you go, wow, and then missing Nyanyamala. You know, yeah, I forgot now why I mentioned this theater, Shandis. But I think every performer deserves to try it out on theater.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree.
And bese
I agree.
you'll see. But school is important, because once you're schooling, then uzozithola lapho. Mara ungashayi find ngoba sizokuhleka nizokwenza nonsense.
Yeah, I would hate to be the person who is an influencer who are taking shortcuts and have to do work with you on screen. Because I'm sure, even though you are a professional, I'm sure you would find it uncomfortable to be next to someone who you know took shortcuts, and they are showing now because you have to cut, and they are misinterpreting what's on the script and so on, because they're just taken because they have 3 million followers.
Look, it's not my. At the end of the day, the producer is the one who brought them there. I'm also contracted to do my thing.
Sure.
They're contracted to do their own thing. So it's not up to me. So all I have to do is just give my all. And if ever wins into Zako, I mean, you know what? Before I used to be like, no, let's try this, do it like. Now I just get them like, okay, I'll do what I can. Because I'm not necessarily paid to do the rest. You know, I do exactly what I can and then leave it. Because then, I'm an influencer, I've got so much power. Ngoba nini nama influencer, athandwa i-channel udlula the thespians.
And they can cancel you.
Then sebaxosha wena. We've seen it before.
Yeah, they can
So axosha wena because Lona, you know, no, she's the future. He's the future, right? So in terms of respect, as fun. So I guess it's better to just get there, do what you gotta do, and bounce.
I think it's an interesting time for you guys because influencers and even the influence of social media, the fans. I remember I used to go to gym company around here, and I would train with Thabo Malema, if I got his name right.
Thabo Malema?
Yeah.
Yes, I went to school with him.
Oh, nice
It
one.
was amazing.
Yeah,
He's a proper
there was
thespian.
a lot of pylon with what he was doing on Scandal. I suppose.
Oh yeah, so he killed that character.
Yeah, that character, Dumela Sipati,
Yeah.
is that, you know what I'm saying? And he was saying, look, this is a GBV character, and there's a story that's being told here. But
That's right.
there was a pylon on social media which, look, women are really not vibing with the storyline, even though it's a reflection of reality.
Yeah.
And they decided to can it maybe before his time. Of course, maybe he was going to die or he was going to be arrested at some point.
Yeah.
If it was going to be in 6 months' time, they decided to do it earlier because a lot of women or a lot of fans were incensed with the kind of character that he was portraying, even though it's acting. And it must be a very difficult world to navigate around now, where you also have to listen, or the channel has to listen to people's views whilst they're trying to tell, whilst the film is trying to tell the story.
I disagree. I think the channel has always had the chance or an opportunity to listen to viewers.
Sure.
Twitter is just an instant fan mail. It's just that now.
Oh yeah, there's always been fan mail.
Yeah, it's just that now for some reason, we if you say it on Twitter, we're like, oh my God, yeah, that's like pearls of wisdom. But majority of lava bantu lava mahlathi nje. Because they just Google what they're going to say there and then they post it and write it as their own. I think we're making a big mistake of being influenced by the minority. Not everyone is on social media. I don't even think 25% of the population is on social media. Yet we want to impose to the rest of the majority that the people are saying. No, the people are not saying that. If you want, create a proper research. Go to the people, and those things are no longer done anymore. We are relying with no. Twitter says that's nonsense. You know what I'm saying? Like you'd find someone would be like, "The show is trending. Are we trending? We always trending." But the viewers are not, the numbers are not saying that. You know, you might trend every night. It's even worse because retweets are bought.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like someone who's got a song says, there's 2,000 people loving it, 20,000. They're bought. The system. You understand? So that's why in the right positions, we need to have leaders to go, let's do things right. Because a story can be cut short because
I can
2,000 people said, but maybe 200,000 people are like, that's what we are dealing with.
And I was about to say, I can imagine that there was no malicious intent. I mean, they want to portray reality. If in South Africa we are to assume statistically with facts that there are women who are being abused, there's nothing that stops Scandal, Rhythm City, or any soapy from exploring that storyline. And there was no malicious intent. They were just trying to tell a story. And now 100,000 people on Twitter are tired of seeing that reality portrayed.
Those people don't even watch the show. They watch it on Twitter.
Yeah.
And they're doing it for clout. So that they can get retweets, so they can get more followers, so they can get the next bag. It's not about the show. It's not about anyone on the platform.
That's interesting. I think it's probably very difficult to navigate the space now with all of what's happening. You always have to address people's concerns and so on whilst you're trying to tell a story. On the other hand, before we went on air, I was trying to explore, because of course there are opportunities to teach when we speak to people like you and musicians, the idea of when you are not shooting, or let me maybe start with when you are shooting a soapy on SABC3, there is a clause maybe that denies you the ability to shoot another soapy on ETV or Zanzi Magic or wherever. Just speak to us about that. That is that a norm in the industry, that when you're doing something on DSTV plus you're doing something on ETV, sometimes you cannot do that. Why is that the case?
I wouldn't say it's a norm, but I understand why. It mostly comes from broadcasters. You know, when you have a Motlatsi Mafatshe on ETV, long format, so we get to see him 6 days a week, right? Now we are confusing our consumers. If I were to have another show on Mzansi or SABC, long format, 6 days a week, we are splitting our people.
Sure.
You know, so in that regard, it makes sense to me. So do one show, one long format. So most of the contracts I've done, I've signed, I can only do one long format for a specific channel, so that we can drive numbers to that show. And actually, I think I agree with it. It'd be so confusing. And also because it's a daily show, to act and be Molefe on ETV, on House of Zwide, every day, and to perform another character, let's say it's Chaba Mulema Tabane, every day, those characters are going to switch at some point. You'll see a bit of Chaba there. You'll see a bit of, you know what I mean?
And also the practicality of you being there in Boch, being on call at the same time, because if Isidingo needs you for 6 hours a day,
exactly
when are you going to find time to do something else?
Yeah, so it's, I mean, what you're saying is like wanting to play for Pirates and Chiefs at the same time.
Absolutely.
It's funan. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I mean, you can't do any other stuff. The industry is big enough. You can do a series. I can do a film. You know what I mean? Some contents also, they deny you to do anything else. But I mean, I guess it's a matter of Fagimalo Zobona, you know?
Sure.
If you go, Kemo, here's 10 million. Don't do anything else. Relax. Focus on this. Listen to me. I'm going to focus on that.
Is it easier to navigate those contracts by yourself or through a lawyer?
School is very important. Because then you'll understand once you start going through your contracts why school is important, because you'll understand certain clauses. A lawyer is also good because then they're able to look at the fine print, or like some words you don't understand. You might have to look through a
So
dictionary.
what have you done? Have you preferred to do it yourself or through a lawyer? Of the contracts that you've done.
I went to school for this shandis, so I kind of understand the language, and there hasn't been a need. I mean, I've had an instant. I'll tell you. We're talking about residuals with SABC at the time for Isidingo, and we're talking about commercial exploitation. But for some reason, those people had a different understanding of what commercial exploitation is, and we also had a different one. And there was no lawyer then. It was just us, actors, and them. But I remember going, excuse me, there's no way that you can create your own meaning, and because you think it's right, and unless the contract itself is vague. If it's vague, then we can take it to court. Then we can expand it. Then the lawyer or the judge will probably say, all right, you need to be more clear here. So certain people can hide behind just one sentence or a clause. So actors also need to go to school or find a lawyer to go, excuse me, this thing, it actually means 3 different things or 4. So you might want to expand on it or be clearer on it. So I'd say a lawyer is good. But it's so difficult in this industry. I'll tell you why. The money that actors or performers, even musicians maybe a bit better, but actors are paid is peanuts. It's peanuts to afford an accountant, to afford a lawyer, to afford a PR expert.
You have to break it apart.
It's impossible to have an office.
Yeah.
And yet the brand is expected to live like and behave as if it's a fully fledged operation.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
I get it. Just give us a breakdown perhaps of when you are on Isidingo, do you get money per call? Do you negotiate a salary? How do you get compensated when you are on Isidingo or any other soapy? And when you are not on screen, what happens? Because there is there are millions of people who watch you, but they don't understand the dynamics of how do people get paid. Because I remember when people lacked empathy for the plight of the actors on Generations, when that happened, they were like, as soon as the channel deliberately leaked some of the salaries, some of them 100K, some from 80K, people started saying, nah, but there's no exploitation there. You guys are being spoiled brats. But what people may not have understood at the time was, this is money that you get for maybe a few weeks, and then if you're not on call, you may not get that money.
Was it
I don't know.
true reflection?
I don't know.
Did you see the pay slips?
Sure.
Don't understand. Don't forget that people don't understand the power of influence. So if somebody says this, who says it first? And I go, lo muntu lo uyahlanya, simnika $500,000. Now that narrative changes. So there's a PR expert or engineer who can move the narrative around.
And I saw that. That's why I'm saying when the channel leaked the information,
then
it was deliberate.
It was deliberate. Now
to make those guys look bad.
Maybe, let's say they were telling the truth. And I will analyze the people who were part of that 16. There's no way. Because if I look at their lives now, there's no way they were getting that much amount and now Gunji. So they lied one way or the other. I could be wrong, okay? But still, now their jobs got cut. Where are they now? Where are they getting money? They're not getting residuals. They're not getting royalties for that shandis. Remember, Hlaudi also sold our shows to
Multi-choice.
To Multi-Choice. Now that transaction where Multi-Choice can play le shandi for as long as they want, we're not getting jack from that. Where's so whether someone was getting 40 grand a week, that's okay. In fact, it's peanuts. You know, I mean, we talk about people who are getting 200 million for a movie all over the world. So they go, Mo, why are you not like Tom Cruise? What are you talking about? That guy gets millions, and I get thousands. You understand what I'm saying? And yet you want to exploit our work and take it to the rest of the world. I went to Argentina this one time, Buenos Aires. When I got to the airport, the old lady, she was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe this. It's you." I'm like, huh? Not here.
That's the last place you expect to be recognized.
She's like, "We watch you all the time here. We love you. Where's your girlfriend?" Then I was like, "Wait, man. Then I saw another clip where I'm busy speaking French. Sechaba, Lausha is French. Wait a minute. But we didn't get jack for that. Do you understand? So there's a middleman inside, or who's coining it, and then it's nice. I'm sure my Pumalento they'll be like, they know the truth. There's a middleman who's sharing our monies, and then whenever they are tired of you, they'll take you out, like they did with Lea King and Lea. And if you stand up, of course, you know. So that money is not enough to sustain you. If you want to buy a car, let's say it's 400,000, a decent car. Ne? A decent house would be what? 2 million?
Yeah, 2 million at least.
Ne? At least.
In a decent environment.
In a decent environment. Maybe a decent environment, it should be about 4 or 5 million. To have let's say 4-bedroom house. Ne? You have children. Nothing fancy. Unless if we're talking about, they must have a 2-bedroom and stars, you know.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense, right? But so 4 million, okay, let's say 3 million. And maybe Bondalento, that's about 20K, 25 maybe.
Somewhere around there.
Right? Already gule 40K, ubonguthi sephelile. Asikabali tax, asikabali grocery, asikabali iskolo. Mntwana wesikolo, how much is it? Maybe let's say 4K a month. That's 40,000 a year. Maybe let's say 60,000 for school. 70 maybe. There's other things that are going to be needed. Already school have 40K. In fact, maybe they live on 3 grand a month. Is that fair? And you watch them all the time. Then it's about 2 straight and with a une stress ma ufuna uthetha ithombe naye une stress ngoba akazi ukuthi uzobhadanisa ini. You know, we're expecting a lot from our people, and yet we're exploiting them.
I think that's powerful, and not enough of these conversations are had, and that's why there's a lot of ignorance about what you guys are, in the context of money, in the context of you guys being prima donnas. I think there's a lack of empathy because of this lack of knowledge, and there's a lot of ignorance as well. Let's segue to some of the recent projects that you've done. Not necessarily about them per se, but what do you see as a difference between channels, between SABC, between ETV, between Showmax or Netflix, in terms of the budget that they give out to have something being shot, and even the pressures of delivering on time and so on? Is Netflix better? I mean, Netflix is receiving positive, press because they seem to be giving out money for content, and you never really hear people complain about that. What has been your experience with that?
I think I'm not a representative of any of
obviously
these platforms. I'm just an independent contractor. The national broadcaster is ripping people off. It's not fair. And yes, you understand, they've said it, Guti, there's no money. You know, now by themselves they don't have money. But it's young mangaza, because when they could and they, you know, I'll tell you one thing, man. When I left school, I don't remember, I don't want to mention figures. But when I left school, they had like they had so much money that made profit. Was enough money to sustain them forever. Right? And then they went bankrupt. Now they don't have. Now they're always asking for bailouts from the parliament, right? So, and obviously that's our tax money and what. So we have to pay them now to pay us, right? But they were able to give people bonuses. The CEOs were getting golden handshakes. You know, majority of the executive, you know, even the ones I remember, Kunalo Babalo or a lawyer from the Red Party.
Oh yeah, I remember Dalimbofu was there at some point too.
Now he got a nice handshake, but then we say bakomba manje ukuthi mara kunamali, but now we thola nempahla yakhe lapha amamit. You understand? And now bese kusala kuma production company ukuthi okay Nina and if now there's no money. But we want you to produce amazing work, right? And on top of that, then you also own the IP.
Yeah.
You own the IP. You give us little money. What are we left with? Nothing. It makes no sense. Then MultiChoice came. I mean, MultiChoice never pushing to Zabo. They'll tell you straight up, okay, we own our shandies. They'll maybe give you a much better rate. Netflix is not too shabby, but I think it's still unfair. I'll tell you why. If you live on a field that's this big, then you are used to getting this much, but you can actually get this much. But you're used to getting this much. And then comes someone who's like, this is not right, man.
Yeah, I see.
And then comes a global brand. Then they're like, you know what? This is unfair. Let's change this. Let's change the game. Then they give you this much. But we're supposed to be playing here.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So that's what's happening. So must you be thankful and be like, oh my God, that's so great. But yet there's people who are getting about 100 and something million. And yes, because they've got a reach of a global space.
Yeah.
But we want to also reach that space. We are known. But they make it, they make sure that we are not aware of our reach. That's why they didn't let us know that Isidingo was playing in France. That's why they don't let us know that it's playing in Argentina or any other country overseas. So you'll only find that. And I remember at some point even, I don't know if it was Trevor Noah or Ban, but they were saying they were watching us in LA. You know, that's unfair. So when someone comes here, the budgets are better because we've never had it, but we deserve this. We can't have car chase scenes. We can't have someone blowing up a building.
Whereas
We'll
on
never
on the same platform, there are people that are granted that budget.
They can go and come to South Africa and stay with their own budget, but probably and change. And it's in a solicit. Let's be fair.
Yeah.
You know, I think what I'm saying is to possibly to ukuhlaba the middleman. Laba bangaphakathi abavali itoro. Ukuthi come on man, be fair. And you still want us to open the industry. But I've not even built a house. I've been in the industry for 20 years.
That's crazy because as you say that younger kids are struggling to break through in the industry, and one of the things that they will say, and there's always, whenever something evil happens, whether it's in business, whether it's in society, there will always be an antagonization where it's irrelevant. So there's an antagonization between younger aspiring actors and actresses, but their anger is towards you guys who are OGs in the game, whereas that's not even where they're supposed to be projecting their energies. As you are saying it now, Wuti, look, if it was a lucrative industry that paid properly, maybe people would leave the door open and move on to other things. 5 years earlier than they do, because they would have been properly compensated. They would have had houses, they would have had cars, they would go and pursue other things. But now the anger, whether it's in radio, television, media, the anger by younger kids is directed exactly to the OGs. We go to, look, we have seen you in so many different soapies. What needs to happen for us to even enter the space? Must you die first for us to be able to get opportunities?
And even I understand that. You know, I understand that. And bakhuluma iqiniso. But silusa abantu aba wrong.
Yeah.
Labaya. Just keep imali, man. Like, till when are we gonna say, we don't have enough budget? If the guy's good, man, give him his money. Do you know what I mean? You can't be on some. Now they even do it. You know, some spaces they go. So we are paying you, so you need to post as well.
I hate that.
You need to do this now. Like, wait. All of a sudden, now you are dictating all my revenue streams.
Yeah, I hate that.
Do you understand what I'm saying? That's exploitation on another level.
They used to tell us to do that on radio, and I didn't do it. And I was like, I'd rather you fire me. I'm not going to do that.
Because it's unfair. Because who's getting the money?
Yeah.
And you came there with your own platform. You came here, you came to whatever station with this platform. Now the followers will follow you. Now if you have to post here, you must benefit because you created this platform.
Absolutely.
So now all of a sudden, and it must be clear. Okay, I need to ufuna post. Ungakhohlwa ke mina ngiza nabantu abangaka mhlawumbe if ever it has to go there ngiza nabantu abangaka. Yeah, so ngicela ubabhatalele in advance ngoba fanele ngiyokhuluma nabo. Then I become a spokesperson of your channel. You know what I mean? And then you find then kunale any group like maybe abo marketing nabo PR bona bayenzani?
Yeah, because if I have to do their marketing on their
behalf, thing is the sponsor.
Yeah.
The sponsor is to go and perform and give you an amazing character. Push it. The guy who scores the goal should not be thinking about, did we sell enough tickets?
Yeah.
I need to focus on scoring or defending or making sure that the team gets to the top of the log.
Sure.
Not about our brand needs to go out there. No, that's your CSI team, and we'll go there when you're on a break.
There you go. It's been a fascinating conversation. I want us to wrap up with just exploring your music and also family as well. Let's start with music. You were telling me that you're a producer and you're also a vocalist as well. A lot of people don't know that.
I studied musical performance at AFDA. I did an honors degree there. Graduated. I did music mostly. I loved music. So I did scoring. That's what I learned at school. Musical performance. I mastered that shandies. So I've got a band called More in the Dark Nights. So once in a while I do shows and I invite people at theaters or just different spots.
Sure.
And then we just club people. I mean, if you hear More in the Dark Nights live, I think your life will never be the same. Or you probably look at the brand differently, like, yo, that's some massive energy. And the music is very good. It's very proper. I just released a song, Monate Fela. You can catch it or just download it on all the platforms. Motlatsi Mafatshe, it's beautiful. I'll be releasing a music video in two weeks. And just dropping more music this year. And I won't stop. I love music. I think it's my first love.
And you're not boxing yourself to any genre?
Funk, pop, rhythm and blues. You're right. I'm not boxing myself to any genre. Whatever that feels good, I do it. You know. And because I love owning my content, so I'll take as long as I can, so that I won't have to. I want to benefit from my talent without having been exploited. So I'll take my time. It's not the easiest thing to do because there's no multi-million rand financial backing.
Sure.
So I just do it one consumer at a time, one listener at a time, and it's pretty dope.
Yeah, you step up to the microphone and sing sometimes, or you are more instrumentalist?
I compose and I write, I produce.
Sure.
But mostly I'm the lead performer. I'm the lead singer in the band. So when I do shows, please pull through. Just follow me on all these social media spaces. Motlatsi Mafatshe, Facebook. Hlaudi83 on Instagram.
Yeah.
Hlaudi on Twitter. And then whenever I do something, I'll post and come check it out.
Nice one. Fatherhood and marriage. Tell us about that. You finding your feet around that? You comfortable? I mean, it's very difficult to be a black man in this country, and I don't think that conversation is had sufficiently. If you don't have money, love is conditional. You can't do a lot of things for your kids. There's a lot of things, and there's a lot of stress as being a man generally, but in particular being a black man in this country and in the world is very, very difficult. How are you as a father? How are you as a lover and a husband?
I think that area is one of the most difficult spaces, because you have to be a person, and it's also because I'm a public figure and I'm on TV all the time.
Whoa.
I also need to respect people that I care about, being my family mostly.
Sure.
So I think I'm allowed to go. I choose to separate my work and my family, and my private life. But I'm a great dad, I want to believe, and I try. I mean, my dad died when I was young. So I kind of have to wibambala paya, and I've got a lot of role models, but more than a timer, you have to squeeze it there and there. But I do believe that a lot of men are going through some hectic mental illness because of the pressure that society has put on Amachita.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of passionate about that. About the new age dad, about the new age father, and the new age husband space. But I think we need to pay attention to Amadota, Amachita.
For sure.
And yeah, so I think that's what I can say.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a confident person. I think I'm talented, and I've done well for myself. But I'm just imagining someone who's on a salary bracket that is like maybe 5,000 rands per month or 3,000 rands per month. If I struggle mentally with some of the things, and I'm better off and I'm decent, how much more is it How much difficult is it for a man who has 3,000 rands working in construction to navigate this world? Because sometimes I go through some of those things as well. I'm like, but here I'm only just being respected because I'm a provider. If I wasn't that, I would not have a voice. So I agree with you, and that's one topic too that I'm passionate about. That I don't think that a lot of attention is being given to our mental health as men, and unfortunately, we shouldn't feel sorry for ourselves.
Nope.
There you go. Thank you very much, Motlatsi, for giving us your time. I really appreciate this conversation.
Peace.
There you go.
One.
Boom.